ShaDon, you've got a mixture of some guys that have been here, some new guys. You're new. So from the spring, summer, what do you think of your group?
Well, I think when I got here in the spring, I think a large part of the evaluation was just getting to know each and every young man personally. I think you cannot ever go into a situation and not get to know the players before you start coaching them. So that was kind of the main thing going into the spring. But I thought we built some camaraderie there in the spring with them getting to know me and how I coach and my style. I thought we improved tremendously in the spring on playing the ball in the deep part of the field, which I thought was an area we needed to improve. And so far throughout the spring, I think we've picked up where we left off. I think that's one of the emphasis, playing the ball in the deep part of the field. As far as the deep balls, being able to finish on those plays, what we like to call 50-50 plays, and I think we've done a good job of that so far.
You seem to be a high-energy guy from what we've seen you in practice. Would you describe yourself as such? Is that an intentional thing, or is that just you?
Yeah, that's just me. I think, and I told the players this the other day, I think, number one, we started playing this game as players because it was fun. And we sometimes as coaches tend to forget that we got into it when we started to play because it was fun. Now, all of a sudden, you guys, the fans, the money that we make, we forget the fact that it's a game and it's fun. So it's fun for me. It's fun for me to see kids have success. It's super exciting to see a young man screw up and then come back and battle back and make a big play. So I get excited because I'm having fun. That's not a show. That's me loving the game of football. And everybody has their own style. And I'm fortunate enough to know the head coach, and he knew what he was getting when he got me. So that's just my style and the way I do it. And I'm not trying to put on a show or be cute for the camera. That's just what I want to portray. Is football is a fun game, and that's why I coach, because I love to see kids use this game to have success.
Coach, curious, you've had enough practices now. Give me some guys that maybe are stacking good practices together, in your opinion. Some of the guys you're working with.
Number one, I think Nick Troy Fortune is doing an unbelievable job of putting together some good days, changing his mentality. One of the things when I got here, I wanted to change his mentality. He's a very cautious, heady, cautious player. I wanted him to be a little bit more aggressive, because aggressiveness as a DB leads to making more plays on the football, in which that's how you're judged as a DB. Alonzo Adai, has become the leader of the room there, and he communicates very well with the players, and he has the respect to the room. But I would say the guy that's flashed for me after he had a injury in the spring, the guy that's flashed every day for me has been Sean Mahone. I'm really pleased at where he is. He's flashed every single day with playing the ball and being in the right spot. So I'm really pleased at where he is. And then Jacky Matthews has been steady. A guy that didn't play a lot last year that's having the opportunity to, maximize his reps. He's also a high-energy young man. And so when he's playing at his best, he's playing with a lot of energy and passion. But those few guys right there, I can say that I feel like they've stacked some quality days on top of each other.
Where's Darryl Porter at right now?
Yeah, Darryl Porter's also a guy, that's had some really good days. I'd say if we had 7 practices, Darryl's had probably 6 really good ones. And Darryl's making plays. Darryl's running with the 2s right now, but I rotate him in with the 1s every now and then. He could easily be a starter for us. I think our depth on the outside at corner has been upped. I think our depth is much better. Also with adding Charles Woods in, a transfer guy from Illinois State with Darryl Porter. And I feel comfortable putting any of those guys out there in a ball game. But Darryl Porter, the thing that I think that has been more glaring for me for him that I see is an attention to detail, a focus every day to be great. He's one of those young men. He could come and sit in this room for 2 hours and you'd never hear him. You'd never see him because he doesn't say a word. He just works. And I'm super proud of him. He's going to be a really good player for us.
Coach, how do you've got, I guess, 2 different deals here. You've got really experienced guys, and you've got a lot of inexperienced guys. How do you close that gap and get that 2 together, but get those 2s to where you need them to be?
Yeah, so my philosophy on that is never mix never have old all old and never have young all with young. So simply to state, if I got 2 young DBs, I'm going to put them in there with 2 older guys so that they have somebody, what I like to call that buffer, when they don't know or there's something that is that they have not seen, the communication may not be there, they can always have somebody to look to on the grass with them. So what we've done is we've mixed and matched guys and try to get a freshman in there playing beside a senior. So now the communication is a little bit better, and they can also learn from those opportunities because they have an older guy that now when they come off to the sideline, hey, man, we're supposed to check this or do this. I think that's the key. When you put 4 young guys out there together, sometimes you go, all right, we got our 1s, we got our 2s, we got our 3s. We put all those 2s out there by themselves, and you get mistake after mistake. The worst thing for a DB is they lose their confidence. It's kind of like quarterback. They lose their confidence, and now you're in trouble. And so in order for them to keep that confidence, even when they make a mistake, I like to have them with an older guy.
We think of corner as a corner, no matter what. But is what you're asking Charles Woods to do different than what he's done at his previous stop?
So at Illinois State, he was primarily playing on the outside at corner. I'm a big believer in cross-training guys, and so he's played some inside at our spear position this fall camp, as well as played outside at corner. We've played Scotty Young in there at spear and played him back on the roof at safety. I think it's very important to move your best players around because there's injuries. We still are battling the COVID, the deal that we've got going on. That is still there. It has not left. And so you always want to have your best players on the field. So I always look at it as I rank the kids 1 through however many we have, not necessarily number 1 corner, number 1 safety. If they're the best 5 guys, let's figure out how to get those best 5 on the field. If number 6 is a corner, but he could be the second best spear or second best safety, if we have an injury, let's get that guy on the field. And I think that immediately adds to your depth on your football team when you do that.
You're talking about cross-training. Who would you say are your most valuable guys that can play multiple positions? Do you have a handful of those guys that can do that?
Yeah, I think, right now I think Alonzo Adai can play multiple positions. I think Charles Woods can play multiple positions. I think Scotty Young can play multiple positions. And one of the things that allows guys to play multiple positions, they've got to be able to retain information, obviously. And so I always try to make sure that if I move a guy and let him play multiple spots, can he retain information and can he still be at his best when he gets moved back to that other spot? It's no good if you move a guy around, then he goes to his original spot and he's lost. So I try to make sure that they can handle it mentally. But Scotty Young, Charles Woods, Alonzo Adai, those guys can handle it. A couple of those safeties can play to the boundary and to the field. But as far as moving from corner to spear to safety, that's really difficult. And I think right now if I had to do that, it'd probably be Charles Woods would be the guy that can move and play all 3 spots. The other guy possibly would be Jacky Matthews at times.
It's pretty remarkable for Woods, a young guy, a guy that just got here in the system. He must be able to pick it up pretty quickly.
Yeah, Charles is really mature. Coming over from Illinois State, he played a lot of ball. He was an FCS All-American, and he's a very heady guy. He's what I call tell me once type of player. You can coach him up one time on a mistake and he's got it. And then he can move to another spot and he'll have a mistake and one time he hears it, he's got it. So he's able to move around and he understands concepts. And so if you understand conceptually what cover 2 or cover 4 means, now you're at this other spot. Well, I was playing here and I knew what that guy was supposed to do even though I wasn't playing that position. Now when I go to that spot, I still know what that guy does. So he's been able to do that and it's been good to see. He's created again more depth, and he's also created competition in the room.
Do you view those as 2-for-1 guys?
I do. I really do. I believe those guys. If you say I got 2 backups, well, you got 4 now because a guy can play multiple spots. Yes.
Or if he's out, you lose 2 guys.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
Does this also play into when you go to 6 DBs or maybe even 7? Is it the next guy that's there, or are those roles for that extra guy so different that maybe it's a little different skill set and you look at a couple people differently?
Yeah, so when you go to extra DBs, mainly you're going to extra DBs for one simple reason: you want coverage. So you bring DBs in for coverage. You take a linebacker or a defensive lineman out, And so when we go into that certain type of packages, whether it be nickel or dime, we want to make sure that we can get the best cover guys. And I try to evaluate who covers better inside as opposed to who covers better outside. So there may be a guy that starts outside for us, but when we go to a sub package, his backup may be better outside, so I'll move that guy inside. So it's all a mix and match of who does what best, and I'm a true believer in I want to put every kid in a situation that they can be successful, not just fill a spot.
You're talking about communication from the older guys. What are you looking for communication style-wise from transfers that don't really have the program as fine-tuned?
Yeah, I think the first thing you have to do when you're a transfer, you come in a new program, you have to learn how to do it the West Virginia way. That's the first thing. And then I think one of the things, and Coach Brown talks about this all the time, our players are very accepting of transfers and guys that come in here. That's been different than other stops I've been. A lot of times a new guy comes into a program and guys kind of want to close that guy out because, oh, God, he's coming in here and he could take my spot. But our kids have been really welcoming to new guys, and I think the first thing they got to do is they got to learn the way of how we do things. The second thing they got to do is they've got to learn to connect with somebody, build some relationships. I think anytime you have relationships with each other, whether it be off the field, then when you get on the field, it's easier to communicate. But I think when you're a transfer guy, what everybody's looking for is that when they see you make a play or two, all of a sudden you get credibility. And then you can communicate a little bit more. But if you don't make any plays, then it's hard to go be a communicator and be a leader in the group. But, and I also think there has to be some humbleness that goes along with it as well.
And I was with cross-training too, how does that work with coaching, with yourself and Coach Wright? How do you two work together with that?
Yeah, so Coach Wright and I, we're kind of like brothers. If you were around us for a long period of time, we give each other a hard time. But so what I do is at times I'll coach the safeties and he'll coach the corners, and then we'll split things up throughout practice where he coaches the field and I'll coach the boundary. Meaning I'll coach the corner and the safety to the boundary, and he'll coach the corner and the safety to the field or the spear. So we work together. It's a truly collective effort in coaching those guys, and I think that's good because we've got good camaraderie, and I can't see everything. And I can't be at every place, and I trust him to be one voice, and we speak the same language, and it's been great so far.
That spear position, coach, has become really important to the WV defense. It's not unique to the program necessarily, but have you seen that around college football, and do you have to coach it differently than your regular safeties and corners?
Yeah, so I'm gonna say about 8-10 years ago, football made a shift, and it made a shift to this RPO thing, what I like to call cheating. It's offensive cheating. They get these offensive linemen, they run block, and they are all the way down the field further than they should be, and then the quarterback goes and throws a pass, right? So what had to happen was you had to be stout enough to stop the run if they ran it, but then you need an extra cover guy if they throw it out on the perimeter because it becomes a lot more of a space game. So people took the linebacker out with old school Sam linebacker in a 4-3, take him out, put a DB in. And then you got the evolution of what people call the 4-2-5. So you got 5 DBs. Well, that 5th DB is what I like to call a hybrid guy. He's a hybrid safety that is big and strong enough if they run the ball could come in and play the run. But he's agile enough that if they throw the ball on the perimeter on that cheating play that the offense runs, all right, that he can go tackle a guy in space. And so that's why that guy is valuable. He's like a Swiss Army knife. He's got to be able to do a little bit of everything. He's also got to be able to pressure the quarterback. He's got to be able to run with the guy, man coverage. He's got to be able to play the flat like a linebacker. So there's a lot of different skill sets at that position. And every stop that I've been in the last, 6-7 years, we've had that position. It's been a different name, but that position is a premium. And that guy going to the next level to the NFL, he's there as well. And then on third downs, you move that guy inside in what you call a dime linebacker role, where he can blitz and do things from an inside because he's big enough and strong enough to take some pounding inside, but he's agile enough to cover on the outside.
Do you use everything you just mentioned with that position to help with recruiting? I mean, you kind of do literally a little bit of everything.
Oh yeah, definitely. I think that position is so valuable, and I don't think people understand how valuable that person is. When it first was developed, everybody thought, oh, it's the DB that can't cover. Well, oh, by the way, when you go man coverage, he's covering the fastest guy on the field in the slot. So he has to cover. And then when you bring him on a pressure, he gets a chance to sack the quarterback. Who doesn't want to do that as a DB? And so he does a lot of different things. And I think when we're recruiting guys, I tell them, hey, look, you're going to not be locked into just playing corner. You're developing a different skill set. And every kid you recruit wants to play where? In the NFL. Well, what the NFL is looking for is one simple thing. They're looking for guys that can be cross-trained, can play multiple positions, and that are versatile. So if you can show that in college, that ups your stock on draft day. And so that position is very valuable.
Where is Andrew Wilson-Lamp in his development?
Well, Andrew Wilson-Lamp is coming along. I think, he was a guy that was a high school wide receiver. And, it's a lot different as a wideout. You're running this way, and as a DB, you're backpedaling that way. So it's totally different. He's learning a lot. I think he's made some strides, just understanding how to play man coverage and things of that nature. And as a DB, you play with your back to the ball, which is totally different. The ball's thrown behind you. As a receiver, a lot of times you're fronting the ball. So he's learning that, but I think he's been eager to learn. He gives great effort. He's probably the fastest guy in the 100 meters on our football team. I would argue with anybody, he's probably a 10.5 100-meter guy. He repeatedly runs the fastest on the GPS tracker, but he's done a great job. He'll be a guy that will contribute immediately this fall on our specialty teams.
Coach, earlier you mentioned your history with Coach Neil Brown. Now you did the spring, now you're in your first fall camp. How's that experience been working with a guy you're so familiar with?
Yeah, it's been good. I think, us having a history and knowing each other for a long time, it always helps. He gives me, he's on me just like he's on everybody, and which is good because now guys that think that, oh, those two know each other well, he's going to ease up on him. But Coach Brown is fair but firm, and he does a good job. And, the thing that I like is if there's something that I think we need to, talk about or discuss, he's always open to listen. And that's been great. He's been a great sounding board. I think, this was a great transition for me because I'm growing in my career by being with him, even though we're the same age. Him having 7 years of head coaching experience, he's really shown me a lot of things that I'm going to need to continue to develop as a coach in this profession, and he's as good as there is in the country.